Hi everyone, I'm Ken from Acre, Portugal, and today we're in the beautiful Western Algarve in Southern Portugal, just outside the historic town of Lagos and near a village called Odiachere, where I'm going to be showing you a very interesting and quite rare rural property. This is a large piece of rustic land measuring around 8 hectares, or just under 20 acres. It's set in a peaceful countryside location with direct access to the Odiachere River, yet it's still only about a 10-minute drive from Lagos town and the marina, and also some of the Algarve's most famous beaches. Now the land's already been prepared for agricultural use with a recently planted carob plantation of around 1,000 carob trees. Now once these are mature, they should produce a very valuable crop. There's a full irrigation system that's installed across most of the property, running off a borehole. There's also a traditional Nora well and direct canal access. The plot is fully fenced. It offers good access, and from higher points you can also appreciate the proximity to the coastline and the surrounding landscape. Now there is a mobile agricultural shelter on the land. It's useful for storage, but it can also support you while you're working on the land. In terms of location, the property is around 5 minutes from the village of Odiachere, which offers a range of shops, restaurants and everyday services, and it's also about 10 minutes to central Lagos, with even more amenities, restaurants, bars, cafes, shopping centres and loads more facilities. For travellers, Faro International Airport's around 50 minutes away, and Lisbon International Airport is approximately 2 hours and 40 minutes by car or bus. So join me as I take you on a full walking tour of this beautiful rural property near Lagos in the Algarve. So we're going to start the video by showing you a map. You can see the borders and boundaries of the land. You can also see exactly where we're standing right now and where the main entrance to the property is. And directly behind me here, this is an electric gate that basically takes you onto the land. There's a short gravel track that basically leads from the tarmac directly to the property. We can see from the outside there is 6,000 euros of fencing that goes around with big thick poles. It's going to last quite a few years. And if I just open up the gates, we got some beautiful little doggies. Hello doggies. Hello, sweet girl. This is a Portuguese water dog, and this one over here is a Rafeiro de Alentejo. So these are very traditional Portuguese dogs. So let me just close this gate so the doggies don't go missing. Directly in front of the gate we can start to see what the property looks like. We've got these big open fields that basically lead all the way down to the river and the estuary, the Ria Elvor, which is just down here, which is a big estuary area. We've got beautiful fish farms just across here. These fish farms get a mixture of fresh water and salt water that basically come in and replenish the water and the nutrients inside the water. We've got this beautiful area which is, it's like a wetland that's full of birds, full of wildlife. And then we have the river called the Rio Odiachere that runs right across 600 meters along the perimeter of this property, or along the border of the property. And this over here is a signpost. The name of the property is Alfa Robeira. Alfa Robeira are carob trees, and almost the entire property is planted with 1,000 carob trees. And they're around 2 years old at the moment. They take about 5 years before they start producing their seed pods. Now, until they get to 5 years old, they do need irrigation. And the owner of this property has put in extensive irrigation systems. This is actually only part of it here. We've got these manifolds that basically go through large pipes, go underground, and they basically have these drip rows that's irrigating the entire almost 8 hectares of farm. Now, we're going to get there a little bit later. I think what we do to start with is we go to the shepherd's hut, which is the little agricultural support building just over here. Now we can see exactly where this shepherd's hut is on the map. I'm standing right in front of it, and from up here it's got the most incredible views stretching out over the river and the estuary. We can see the wood of the shepherd's hut has gone a really nice color in the sun. It's a very basic hut. It's on wheels, so it is a mobile structure. It's not a permanent structure, and it's very basic, but it does have electricity. It's got running water. We've got a kitchen, a refrigerator. If we start on this side, look, we have some very basic steps that lead up into this old wagon. It almost looks like an old railway wagon or something. It's got a little porch area here. We've got little light over there, and if we come through, we've got a kitchen. So all the way along this side we've got the kitchen. We've got a whole bunch of drawers and cupboards and things. We've got an induction hob. We do have electrical sockets. I mean, again, it is very basic, but it's a really nice shell that could be fixed up. We do actually have double glazing looking through the windows here. Let me just show you on this side. We've got some more storage and places to hang things, little shelves, a nice little space where you can eat. And we do have a fridge in the corner over here. And And through this doorway we have a little bedroom. So really basic, but you know, it is comfy and cozy. This is actually a space where the person that looks after the farm, so they have someone coming here and looking after the place. And when they're working on the farm, as this is an agricultural support building, you are allowed to stay here and you are, well, allowed to look after the land. And then through the double glazed windows we can see really nice views looking out. You know, and again, it does have mains electricity, so we can run things like heaters in here. You could put an air conditioner in here. The window's open by the looks of it, although I don't know how to do that. Oh wait, there we go. So there we go. So it's very basic, but it is functional. It's going to keep you dry. It's going to keep you out of the elements, and for agricultural support work and stuff like that, this is absolutely perfect. Again, we have the kitchen, we have a place where someone could rest, and outside we do have an outside toilet and shower area, which is in the building just over there. So again, this is very basic but very functional. If we open it up, we can see we have a toilet over here going into a septic tank, and then we have the shower just on the side here. It even has an extractor fan and electricity in here for lights. And just to the side of the toilets we have these little vegetable gardens. We can see everything here has been built very, very rustically by the people that have been looking after the land for the owners. So this is made out of old pallets and things. And if we have a look in here, we can see we've got a whole bunch of like onions or chives or something like that growing here, and possibly some herbs. And in the other one over here, looks like we have some more onions, but we also have, looks like they've just cut it just to get ready for planting in the spring. Now that's quite a lot of space for growing veggies, especially if you're just like a single person or a small family. That's plenty of space. Also a nice cute little area here for sitting outside and enjoying the beautiful Algarve sun. And also just in front of the shepherd's hut is this duck pond, and we do have some water birds that they are keeping in one of these little buildings here that we'll look at. And to the side of the shepherd's hut is a barn, and look at this, it's made out of pallets. So again, this is something that people that he's had to look after the land while he isn't here, they've basically built all of these structures. We've got a whole bunch of free-ranging chickens in here, which is pretty cool. I mean, just look at this, it's actually quite cool, how it's all put together with pallets. It's all very functional. And look at these chickens, I mean, they are having the time of their lives in here. Look at this. They've got some kind of frozen food cube here that they're all munching on. And yeah, they've just got the run of this place. So here's a look at this barn area from the other side. It's basically a space where you can store, I don't know, wood and all sorts of stuff. And it'll keep it relatively dry because we've got this big sort of tarp cover on the outside of it. So if we walk through this barn area, we've got a lot more wood stored here. This looks like some old olive wood from when they're pruning all the olive trees. Again, we've got olive trees that are stretching all the way across here. The owner said there's around 60 olive trees, and they have been pruned, so you don't have to worry about that for a couple of years. It looks like they've done a really good job sort of opening them up and making the airflow go through them quite nicely. On the side here is a bunch of old fridges. Apparently one of the people that stayed on the land brought these fridges here, and it's just been used as like storage, so just a place where you can put things inside. And then again, we just have this sort of shed made out of pallets also with storage inside. And if we walk through here, we've got just different buildings that the animals stay in. So again, they're just all made out of pallets, and they're just little buildings where the chickens can go inside and lay their eggs and things like that. And all built together very rustically. And over here we've got some, are these geese or ducks? These look like ducks. So these are obviously the ducks that go to that little pond. So now that we've seen the shepherd's hut, the agricultural support buildings, I want to take you across to the whole irrigation system. Now, the owner has spent a huge amount of money on this irrigation system, and it's very impressive. And while we walk there, I'll just give you a look at the back of these buildings here, and we're going to go down this little track that takes us towards the entrance where we came in, but this time we're going to be turning right and going down to that white building. I'm not sure if you can see it down there. That's the irrigation building, and it's really beautiful at this time of year. This is actually the second time I've been to the Algarve, but at this time of the year everything is very lush and very green. I was actually walking around with the owner earlier, and he told me that this is wild asparagus, which is pretty amazing. Look how it grows, really cool. There's a whole lot of it just growing all along this row here. And from up here you can also see the rows of carobs quite well, and that is over 1,000 carob trees that have been planted. Portugal is actually one of the main carob producing regions in the Mediterranean. carobs grow really well here, because when you get closer to the coast, the quality of the soils isn't as good as inland, and carobs can grow in very nutrient poor soils. They can also grow in quite droughty areas, and it makes it perfect for planting in places like this. Now, even though I said they can grow in nutrient poor soils, we actually do have quite good soil here, and we do have evidence, if we look around here, of things like clovers, which are quite good for fixing nitrogen in the soil, and we do have quite lush vegetation growing. And if we look at the quality of the actual soil itself, it's quite full of clay, so it's quite a clay rich soil. There are quite a lot of stones and pebbles and things like that in it. This was actually a farm, or this area was actually used to grow like wheat and corn and different grain crops and things like that in the past. And now the owner has decided to obviously plant all of these carob trees here, because it makes it a lot easier to look after the land. You know, once these trees take hold and once they are mature, you don't have to water them, you don't have to look after them. These carob trees are going to grow sort of 10-15 meters high, and the way that they've been planted in these rows here means that they're going to create a beautiful 8-hectare section of shaded land with these beautiful big old trees in it. So I'll show you on a map where we are right now, and we're at a very high point in the land. I would say the highest point of the land is where the shepherd's hut is, which is slightly lower over here, and we can see all of the rain that we've had. Like, if you've looked at the news, Portugal was hit by huge storms. I think there were about 3 or 4 storms in a row, and we've got a little bit of rain that has just settled down here. But the owner was saying that this would be a very good place to actually dig a pond. We've already got this sort of red clay soil underneath here that would seal itself, and we do have something quite interesting just over here. So this funny concrete structure over here is actually, it's what I would call a levada, which is basically, it's an irrigation system that's basically put in by the council. It comes from the Bravura Dam, and if we look into the bottom here, we can actually see it's got water inside, and when you lift this up, you've got to lift this up, it basically opens up a sluice that's going to fill all of the water up in here, and then you've got another little sluice on the side here, and when you lift this up, it'll let the water fill in and overflow off the side over here. And this is going to allow you to basically run the water off the side over here and onto your land. And if you're quite clever about water management and you dig little canal systems or like little trenches, you can actually send water all over this entire piece of land here. You can also send water into your little dam here if you decided to build your own little pond or little dam system or something, and then you can use that to then gravity feed over the side where the shepherd's hut is. That goes down towards the river. Now, in order to use it, you just sign up for an account with the water company. They charge you, it's a minuscule amount of money. It really is nothing in comparison to normal municipal water. It's basically meant for all of the farms around here, and the farmers use it to irrigate citruses and all of the crops and stuff that they're doing here. So it's really valuable to have that on your piece of land. And on the very edge of the land, just over here, we have another entrance. I'll show you on a map exactly where that is. And there's another one of these levada watering points as well. The owner of this piece of land has said that this is a fully organic farm. They don't use any chemicals or pesticides or anything like that. And it's the same with the properties around us. There's actually, in fact, a really large producer of vegetables and fruits and things, which is just to the side over here. It doesn't actually neighbor directly with this farm, but apparently they also grow completely organically and supply lots of markets and things like that around this Algarve area. So here is the border of the land where this fence is over here, and this is another entrance. In fact, if we go down here, just down to the edge here, just down to the end, there is a tar road. So we can see that the access here, it is quite muddy at this time of year, but obviously in the summer it will be nice and compact and dry. But there are 2 entrances, and this is the other levada system. So just like the other one, it basically overflows itself out here, and then you can channel this all around onto your piece of land. Now, the owner has invested quite a lot of money in the property. Have a look at this. It's a big double garage. It's got electric shutting doors, and it's got electrics in here. We have plug sockets, a nice space for storing tools and everything like that. And we also have this irrigation system, which I've been told cost over 60,000 euros for the entire installation. On the side here, we have these tanks for fertilizers, and they are actually using fully organic fertilizers, so it is still an organic land. These are tubs where the fertilizers basically get mixed, and the water basically comes in through these manifolds. We've got this one over here, which is from the borehole directly, and from there it can go to all of these different sections. Now, I've been told if we look on the wall, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and essentially the farm is divided up into 5 different sections. We've got 20% of the water going to each section, and that's only because it's such a big farm, you wouldn't be able to irrigate all 5 with one pump. So it does it one at a time, and it's all controlled here through this system over here, which is a very fancy water computer system that does it all automatically. It's also connected with a 4G SIM card so that the owner can actually control this from their mobile phone. So an amazing system. The entire setup for this entire system, along with everything that you see here, and also everything that you see in the fields, all of the irrigation hosing and tubes, over 14 kilometers of tubing, cost over 60,000 euros. So they've really done it properly. They've not just put these trees in the ground and hope for the best. All of these carob trees are basically in. They're about 2 years old. They've got about 3 years left to be irrigated properly so that they can really take hold and become big, mature carob trees. So here is a closer look at the carob trees. We can see it almost looks like a holly leaf in a way. It's got that sort of waxy feel about it. And this is actually, it's got 2 purposes. So they make pulp from these plants. That pulp is like a sort of a sweetener, and they make things like a cocoa substitute. It's almost like a cocoa flavor, but without the caffeine. And those seed pods are used to make a certain type of thickener that they use in food production, in things like ice cream and things that need thickeners. So there is like an industrial use for these carob plants, and they are quite valuable. The price does fluctuate, but over time and in future, this is going to get more and more valuable. And we've just got rows and rows of them here. Imagine what these are going to look like when they're all sort of 5, 10, 15 meters tall, and they're all just shading this entire area. They've been planted at a distance of 8 meters apparently. I believe it was 8 meters. And so they're all going to spread out really nicely, put some beautiful shade down on the ground. So I'm going to head down from this section over here. I'll show you exactly where we are on a map right now. And I'm going to show you exactly where we're going to go on the map to the Nora. So while we head on down there, I just wanted to mention that the price for the property and the contact of the seller is always in the video description. So have a look there. The reason why I put them in the video description and not into the video is because over time prices can change, but once they're inside a video, I can never edit it out. So I always put it in the video description and in the top pinned comment. So have a look down there. All right, so we've had a little bit of a hike to get here, but this is the Nora. And essentially what a Nora is a well that has some kind of mechanical contraption on the top, which you would normally have found up here, with wheels that carry buckets from where the water is up to the top, and you'll have some kind of a mechanism that goes around in a circle that you attach to cattle or something, so that you can cattle power buckets. But fortunately we don't have to do that anymore, and we have electrical pumps. I mean, look at the size of this one. This is massive. And if we look inside here, we've got a very deep and very full well. Look at that. Pretty amazing. Now, this is actually something that they use as water storage, so they don't necessarily use this to irrigate from. Right now there's tons of water, and obviously this pump will pump water around and through the fields. But what they tend to do in the lower water season is they pump the water from the borehole, which then fills up the Nora, and then they use that as an extra pump to pump water across all of these fields over here. And I think next we're going to go down in that direction to the riverbank. And we've actually got the high tide coming in here now. I'm going to show you on a map exactly where we are right now. And just in front there is where the Nora is and the borehole. And look at these views. This is the river now, just before high tide. High tide starts, I think it was 4:30, and right now it's about 3:30. And we've got this lovely river going across. So when the tide goes out, it does actually get a lot lower, but there is always water in here. And we have this sort of wetland, mud flat sort of area. And I don't know if you can see on the camera, but we've got all these beautiful birds just flying around here, all feeding on the wetlands. As I'm walking around to show you the rest, I just want to show you this clay. Look at that. We've got some serious clay here. So, I mean, this is just perfect for if you wanted to make ponds and stuff like that. And just next to it, just look at all of this clover. So much of it. So even earlier when I was saying that, you know, it's not that nutrient rich, generally speaking, when you get closer to the sea, we obviously have this river that's bringing nutrients down, and we have all of this land next to it that I think is quite nutrient rich. So I know I spoke about all the irrigation tubes and things like that, but I didn't actually show you what they look like. So here is a row that's been sort of mowed, so you can see the tubes a little bit better so it doesn't get overgrown. And we can see all of these drip irrigation tubes that are basically going along every single plant here in these rows. And 14 kilometers, in fact, 14,000 meters of all of this tubing. Now that must have been one hell of a job, and all of the work's done. It's already done. So the owner of the land now just has to sit back and wait. Sit back and wait until these start to produce, and when that happens, there's going to be a very bountiful harvest every single year, bringing in a decent amount of money. So as we walk along this shoreline here, we've got, as I mentioned earlier, 600 meters of river frontage. I mean, that's like, you know, more than half a kilometer of river to the one side. If we look in this direction, we do have the sun behind us here, but we're in front of us, but this is where the caravan is. This is where all of the outbuildings are. And yeah, it's got a really nice feel. It's a very private feeling piece of land, like you're not overlooked. So this property is essentially a long-term investment type property. It's rural land that's going to have, well, it's got an investment that's in place already with all of the hardware, all the infrastructure. It is a rural piece of land, so it's not something that you can build a house on. There might potentially be a possibility to do that, because if you look around us, there are numerous houses that are around us, you know, directly in this sort of basin area here. And those houses are obviously legal houses that have been built here. So, you know, potentially that's something that could happen. Obviously, I just make these videos. I don't, you know, advise on legal matters or on building permissions or planning permissions. But what I would look at this more as is as a piece of investment land, a piece of agricultural land, somewhere where you can come on holidays, you can tend on the land, stay in the shepherd's hut while you're doing agricultural support activities, and have this access to this beautiful nature, to all of these birds, and to this lovely weather. So we've walked along this stretch of the river, and just to the side over here, this is where the shepherd's hut is. We can see the rows of carobs coming down, and this is the lowest point of the land here, and we can see we actually have a little bit of water here. And what's happening is the water is actually coming through the sandbank here, through the soil from the river. So you know, during high tides we actually get a little bit of water that pushes through and makes up a little area here, which the owner reckons would make an amazing wildlife pond. Now we'll go there in a moment, but first of all I want to take you down here. There's a lovely little area. I'm going to call it a beach area. Obviously it's not, it's like a wetland area. But let's have a look on a map exactly where that is right now and follow me down there. And this takes us right up to the water. We can see how this section over here with all of these little shrubs and things, it's like a type of seagrass, but essentially this is just full of lots of different shrubs and things that can live in briny water. And I've been told that apparently this is edible and that they actually use this stuff in food. Maybe someone can tell me what this is. It almost looks like little green tarantula legs, and apparently it's edible. And then just in front is direct access to this river, and it's actually filling up quite nicely now. Earlier on it was much lower. There was like a much deeper channel in the middle here, and then it was all sort of shallow on these sides. We can see it's just the perfect location or habitat for all of these birds. Now the owner was saying that potentially you could build your own little jetty, your own little dock out from this area here, a little wooden dock that could come out to the water, so you could walk, you know, from the level over there, walk all the way out here, and then you could have a little boat. You know, nothing big or fancy, but just a little boat out here that you could then explore these rivers during high tide and get all the way down to the estuary just down there and even out to the sea. Earlier on, when I was walking around here with the owner while he was showing me where everything is, he had his 3 young boys with him, and they were having such a blast just running around here, just playing, getting absolutely covered in mud. And yeah, I mean, it was, what an amazing place to spend time when you're a kid. Really awesome. So I think next we're going to go to this area here where it's kind of flooded, and I'll explain it a little bit better. As we go down here, look, we've got tons of this wild asparagus again, just growing all over the place. So much stuff. Again, loads and loads of clover. So even though these carobs can grow in very sort of nutrient poor soil, it looks like the soil here is really, really good. I'm actually quite impressed with the sort of diversity of things that we're finding here that are actually proving that the soil's in really good condition. So we can see as the tide is coming in here, and we've got this big bank over here, it's actually infiltrating through the bank, and on this side over here, which is quite low, we've got this sort of briny pool, which again is a lovely wetland habitat. And the owner was saying that it wouldn't actually be too difficult, considering that this is all clay. It wouldn't be too difficult to get a digger down here, obviously in the height of summer when things are a bit drier and during a low tide, and you dig this all out and then you compact it. You compact that clay down, and then this will hold water a lot better, and you can make a much bigger pond. And actually in the distance over here, this camera is probably not going to pick it up, but there's a mallard over there, so there's some lovely wild birds just living right inside this thing. On the map we can see I'm on the very southernmost border of the land, and we're right next to the river, and from here we can see in the distance there's a railway bridge just over here going over the river, and then just to the side we've got these buildings. These buildings are actually part of an aquaculture farm. They are basically growing fish. There's a species like sea bream that they grow in these big ponds, and the tides actually go through these ponds and replenish the water, so you don't have stagnant water in there. They've always got nice, fresh, nutrient-rich water that's going through there. They also produce mussels that they are growing along the coast in these different types of areas here, which we can see in front. And it's a really productive area for aquaculture, because we've got all of this nutrients coming down from the river and also coming in from the sea. And this happens 4 times a day with the different tides. And from this very southernmost corner point of the land, you can see just behind me here is this little trail. And the owner tells me that you can actually take this trail and you can actually walk along here and to the edge and around, and you can actually get to the coastline and you can get to all the different beaches and things. He said, I think it was about a 20-minute walk. So there's lovely walks to go on all the way along here that you can get right down to the beach and right down to those beautiful views. If I spin the camera around here, I can give you some views of the edge of the land. So the edge of the land is here and going across to the water. And if we look back in this direction, this is all of the land here. There's the shepherd's hut up here. Really beautiful piece of land. Now, worth mentioning is that agricultural land or rustic land, rural land like this in the Algarve tends to go between €4 per square meter and up to €20 per square meter. Now, the lowest end is obviously land that's got no infrastructure, no irrigation, no wells, no water, that doesn't have these big river systems, that doesn't have the canal system from that dam where you can irrigate land with. And the higher end of that is obviously agricultural land that's going to have more of these sort of infrastructure and amenities. And what's interesting is that right now the current price of the land works out at around €7 per square meter. So it actually makes it quite a good proposition if you think about it, with all of this infrastructure. And that's food for thought. So it's been an interesting day. I've made some new friends, and I've seen a really beautiful farm. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and tell us what you think in the comments below. We'll see you again next time for another property tour, and actually I'm going to try and head off tomorrow and do a vlog of Lagos, because this place is absolutely amazing. So do check out on my channel for that Lagos vlog, and we'll see you soon in the next one. All the best. Ciao.